everybody having a good time. The country's almost back to normal before World War III. COVID was just so strange. We lost a lot of people during COVID, and most of them are still alive. Yeah. Before COVID, I would have told you that vaccines are the most important invention in human history. After COVID, I'm like, I don't think we went to the moon. I think Michelle Obama's got a dick. I think Pizzagate is real. I think there's direct energy weapons in Antarctica.
Then Greg Gutfeld jumped in and he didn't just mock Michelle Obama, he dismantled her public persona piece by piece, like a cat toying with fresh prey. Greg wasn't going after Michelle, the person he was targeting, the sanctimony, the invincibility, the political perfume that made her immune to criticism. To Gutfeld, Michelle wasn't just a former first lady, she was the untouchable goddess of progressive fairy tales. And he was ready to set fire to the pedestal. Greg started by torching her constant narration of the American struggle, from the plush throne of elite privilege. In Gutfeld's words, Michelle had turned grievance into an entire entertainment genre. Her speeches, a mashup of therapy session vibes and political pep rallies, circling back to the same point. If life's this hard for me, imagine you. And Greg couldn't help but laugh. If being a best-selling author, Ivy League royalty, and political icon isn't enough, what is? He mocked how the media treated her like a living saint. Every soundbite praised like scripture. Every casual comment dissected like ancient wisdom. He joked that if Michelle ever tripped on a sidewalk, CNN would host a panel on the symbolic burden of oppression. According to Gutfeld, she was never simply wrong, she was always misunderstood. Never criticized, only canonized. He called it the celebrity force field. The royal armorware failure was impossible, and applause was mandatory.
You know Michelle is a trans.
I'm sorry, she's a what?
A transgender. We all know.
Oh my gosh.
That's pretty funny how she said it.
Okay, we all know it.
These choices clear to the men that we love. Our lives are worth more than their anger and disappointment.
What's that pitter-patter sound I'm hearing in the background? It's the footsteps of Barack running to vote for Trump.
Joe Rogan didn't need a red carpet moment to take aim at Michelle Obama. This wasn't personal. It was pure spectacle. The former First Lady had strutted back onto the national stage like a superstar prepping for a presidential encore, and Rogan couldn't resist. It was like watching someone practice campaign speeches in front of a yoga mirror. To Joe, it wasn't. Empowerment tit was a golden opportunity wrapped in designer victimhood and overpriced organic kale.
I was wheezing. I couldn't breathe. Big Mike.
Big Mike.
Enjoying the video? Don't forget to subscribe and smash that bell icon to stay updated. Joe Rogan started slow like a lion stretching before the hunt. No roar needed, just a sly grin, a casual sip of something strong, and a head tilt that said, "Oh, this is gonna be fun?" To Rogan, Michelle Obama wasn't just a political figure, she was a brand, a product, an algorithm. A high-end motivational speaker dressed up as a revolutionary. He broke it down. Every public appearance felt less like leadership and more like a TED Talk crossed with a luxury athleisure ad. Less policy, more posture. Not real change. Just lifestyle marketing at its finest.
Even if they run Michelle. According to a new poll, Michelle Obama isn't as strong a Democratic candidate against former President Donald Trump as many Dems would have you believe. In a hypothetical matchup, my favorite kind. Trump wins with 47% of the vote compared to Michelle Obama's 44%. I guess some of the kids whose school lunches she ruined are finally old enough to vote.
Joe Rogan called it for what it was. Michelle Obama's Netflix specials, podcast rollouts, and sold-out stadium tours weren't just appearances. They were the most calculated rebranding campaign in political history. In Rogan's eyes, the former First Lady wasn't casually stepping back into the spotlight, she was dropping an entire new season of her political series, a walking hashtag. A perfectly packaged mix of motivational quotes and designer-level discontent. Joe didn't hold back, pointing out the irony. Preaching about struggle while lounging in the luxury of multimillion-dollar estates.
Rogan is calling out Oprah and Michelle Obama for hypocritical speeches at the DNC. Watch.
She's up there talking about income inequality. Like, hey, lady.
Yeah, I know.
You're rich as like, how is that equal? And also, when Michelle Obama was saying, you know, I think she was saying her mother or grandmother was always suspicious of people who took more than they needed.
Yes.
Like,
Yeah, yeah.
you are
Yeah,
worth so much money.
take more than they need. The Obamas have 4 mansions.
And Joe wasn't finished. He went straight for the jugular. He ripped into Michelle's constant hardship and adversity narrative, calling it a masterclass in elite victimhood. To Joe, it was like watching a duchess host a TED Talk about the struggles of being fabulous, her version of trauma. Bad lighting at a book signing. Meanwhile, the media. They lapped it up, applauding every word like she'd just dropped the Gettysburg Address. Sprinkled with kale chips and Instagram filters.
Michelle Obama surprised fans on our new podcast by saying her pet peeve about her husband is that he's chronically late. For example, we're still waiting on him to admit he's from Kenya. And as for Barack's pet peeve about Michelle, he's mad that she keeps leaving the toilet seat up. When she cleans it.
Joe was just getting started warming up, finding his rhythm, and swinging harder with every punch. He called out the irony of someone who lived in the White House for 8 years, only to turn around and write a memoir about feeling unseen. According to Joe, Michelle Obama was the only person who could claim to be marginalized while trending nonstop for weeks. He painted the picture perfectly. Michelle wasn't some underdog, she was an Olympic torch, carried nonstop by a swooning media, never allowed to flicker out, a symbol of struggle she never actually lived. Then came Joe's favorite part, culture wars. He tore into Michelle's lectures on food, fitness, and self-discipline. To him, her kale obsession wasn't nutrition, it was a full-blown moral crusade. Like vegetables could magically fix systemic problems. He joked that under Michelle's watch, kids weren't getting healthier, they were running black market candy rings at recess. Her school lunch program wasn't a health revolution, it was a national hunger strike served on beige plastic trays. Joe roasted the self-righteousness, mocking how Michelle wielded her image like a yoga mat dipped in moral superiority. It wasn't enough for her to be influential, she had to be profound. Not just powerful, but practically holy. Every book wasn't just a bestseller, it was marketed as a cultural awakening. Joe found it hilarious. Every sentence, he said, landed like it had been pre-approved by 1,000 think pieces. Every nod, every grin perfectly polished, perfectly posed, not a person, but a brand awareness campaign in $500 sneakers.
Joan Rivers said that Michelle Obama was a man before she died. When
Was that a joke? I thought it was a joke.
I thought it was a joke too, but the way she said it wasn't like jokey. She was like, oh, come on, everybody knows Michelle Obama's a man. Like, remember that?
Yeah, like, would Big Mike kill you for that?
Well, I think she died because she had 1,000 plastic surgeries.
Michelle thinks American men suck.
Let me warn you, your rage does not exist in a vacuum. If we don't get this election right, your wife, your daughter, your mother, we as women will become collateral damage to your rage.
Joe Rogan and Greg Gutfeld just torched Michelle Obama's carefully protected image, no filters, no mercy. In a savage takedown packed with brutal honesty and razor-sharp jokes, they ripped through the media hype, the glossy PR machine, and the royal-level worship surrounding her. From the curated victim narratives to the untouchable celebrity status, nothing was off. If you've ever questioned the obsession or wondered what's really behind the polished persona, this explosive roast delivers the raw truth they don't want you to hear.
Michelle Obama has openly admitted that she and Barack sleep in separate bedrooms. Here's how it works. She sleeps downstairs and he likes men. Chinning. The weather. Let's do a monologue. Michelle Obama's new podcast is off to a slow start, ranked at number 34 on Spotify. In her defense, most people don't like her.
Then Greg turned up the heat, zero mercy. He ripped into Michelle Obama's activism, calling it pure performance art bathed in soft lighting, wrapped in designer hashtags and served up with perfectly filtered Instagram posts. According to Greg, Michelle wasn't changing the world, she was branding it. Real activism, he argued, doesn't come with a personal stylist, a publicist, and a Spotify playlist. It comes with dirt, sweat, and real risk, and Michelle, in his view, had never risked anything. Not politically, not socially, not financially. He torched her memoirs too, describing them as the literary version of being cornered at a cocktail party by someone preaching resilience while sipping $400 wine. Every chapter, Greg said, oozed with polished nostalgia and humble brags dressed up as trauma. Michelle, according to Gutfeld, had perfected the art of emotional inflation where every slight inconvenience became a monumental life lesson. And that whole down-to-earth image. Greg wasn't buying it. He joked, Michelle was about as relatable as a SpaceX rocket. Her realness was engineered, focus grouped, and media tested to perfection. Not authentic. Professionally relatable, when someone has that much power, money, and media control, Gutfeld argued, they stop being real and start being a performance. Then came the knockout blow. Greg called out her carefully timed non-political moves, the speeches, the media blitz, the strategic appearances. This wasn't random, it was a soft launch campaign. A presidential flirtation dressed up as casual inspiration. A glamorous sneak attack on American politics. His final warning. If you don't see it coming, you're not paying attention.
One thing that the girls would do at Barack was to go stand next to him when he pardoned this turkey.
Yes.
And it was cute when they were little, but as they got older, you could see on their faces in the shots of them thinking, I would just poke my eyes out. Just right now, just get me out of here. I'm standing with my father telling these stupid jokes, next to a turkey.
Together, Joe Rogan and Greg Gutfeld didn't just roast Michelle Obama, they shattered the myth. They peeled back the polished layers, exposed the inner workings, and revealed the carefully choreographed performance beneath the charm. They weren't denying her charisma or accomplishments. They just refused to let those things be used as armor against legitimate criticism. Joe leaned in even harder, calling out the bizarre irony. Michelle Obama, with all her accolades, wealth, and influence, still playing the underdog. Rogan joked, it was like watching the marathon winner complain they didn't get enough applause at the finish line. The whole forever underestimated routine had become a broken recorder, despite the fact that Michelle had the media, Hollywood, academia, and the publishing world wrapped around her flawlessly manicured finger. And every time she reappeared in the spotlight, Rogan said it was treated like a national awakening. He compared it to a UFC crowd erupting in cheers over a yoga instructor doing
being married to the president of the United States thing.
Yeah.
that none of us kind of banked on. I mean, we knew Barack was smart and, ambitious, but, I think, but you talked me into supporting his run.
I did.
Because I was definitely like, nope, no way. This is crazy. We've done enough crazy stuff.
That's right.
Greg Gutfeld closed out with his sharpest shots, yet calling Michelle Obama the walking, talking political mood board. Polished, inspirational, effortlessly likable, completely not threatening. Until she wasn't. Greg warned that beneath the dazzling smile and crowd-pleasing charisma was something far more calculated, a blade of ideology, wrapped in silk. Subtle, smooth, but razor-sharp. Michelle wouldn't have to debate, Greg said. She wouldn't have to answer. She'd just have to show up, smile, charm, deflect, and bask in untouchable adoration. It wouldn't be a campaign. It would be a coronation, wrapped in a sob story. Then Joe jumped back in, nodding in full agreement. The real issue, Rogan argued, wasn't Michelle herself, it was the culture that forbade criticism, a world where any dissent was instantly labeled villainy. And that, Joe said, was the real danger, not because Michelle would necessarily abuse power, but because no one would dare hold her accountable if she ever did.
Rumors continue to escalate for the Obamas. Hopefully they can settle it like men.
Greg didn't hold back. He called Michelle Obama the ultimate fantasy candidate for the left. Not because of bold policies or groundbreaking ideas, but because of the aura, the smile, the perfectly packaged narrative. She didn't need to explain a platform, she just had to project hope. It wasn't about what she stood for. It was about how she made people feel. And to Gutfeld, that wasn't leadership. That was high-end marketing. Then Joe Rogan came, swinging back in with the body shots. He compared Michelle to a self-help guru, except this guru had a secret service detail and multi-million-dollar book deals. Joe said she'd perfected the art of talking for hours while saying absolutely nothing. Her speeches were like motivational wallpaper, generic enough to be repurposed for any era, any cause, without ever revealing a true stance. Trying to pin her down, Joe said, was like trying to catch fog in a Gucci jacket. The real danger. According to Rogan, it wasn't what Michelle said, it was the silence around her. She was treated like a modern-day saint in a world that desperately needed critics, not cheerleaders. Michelle wasn't bulletproof because of her accomplishments. She was bulletproof because people were too scared to ask the hard questions.
I will not run for president.
Yeah, I've heard you say I think Michelle should run.
She could win. She could win, I think. I think if she ran, she could win.
Do you ever run for office?
No.
I have to ask it.
No.
No kind of office.
No.
I don't think she wants that, though.
No,
I don't think she wants that in her life. The bull that they dealt with over the 8 years when he was president.
Because I've got these two young people at home. Being the kids, the daughters of a president, just think about it. Not so easy.
That job for anybody that like really would really good at it.
Yeah, I trust the person who doesn't want the job more than the person who wants the job.
It's not something that I'm interested in or would ever do. Ever.
Joe Rogan summed it up perfectly. It wasn't about what Michelle Obama said. It was about how desperate people were to feel inspired. Even when her speeches were as light and fluffy as a luxury wellness podcast, the crowd ate it up. Then Gutfeld jumped back in, sharper than ever. He called Michelle the ultimate political safety net, the one person you couldn't criticize without it, sending the entire media ecosystem into meltdown mode. Together, they laughed at the absurdity. Michelle could casually hint at a presidential run, and journalists would hyperventilate like it was the birth of a royal baby. To them, a Michelle 2028 campaign wasn't some wild idea, it was the most obvious slow-motion coronation in modern politics. But if the crown was coming, Rogan and Gutfeld made one thing clear behind the glitz. There's still a person. And that person deserved real questions, real scrutiny, and zero free passes, just like anyone else.